So in today's video, I want to go over the High Elves campaign intro movie that has been revealed lately. And I know I don't like to really go over a lot of this stuff that's kind of been eking out this past week. I want to leave some stuff for us to see, when we actually played the game for the first time. But this kind of stood out to me, obviously, as someone who's a huge fan of the High Elves. And I think it'd be a really good idea to go through this, as well as go through the new FLC that they've announced for Total War Warhammer 2. So let's just kind of edge our way through this and see how it goes, and I'll stop it here and there and talk about things, or maybe even just let the whole thing go and talk about things in retrospect. So let's just have at it.
Who are the Asur? An enigma to men and dwarfs, who know them as High Elves. At the center of the great ocean lies Ulthuan, a paradise created by the Old Ones. But when the stellar gates collapsed, demons flooded the mortal plane. All was lost until Anarion the Defender strode forth. The first Phoenix King vanquished the demons with the aid of the Archmage, Calador Dragontamer. It was Calador and his elven mages who created the Great Vortex.
Just jumping in here real quick. So we have just a pretty quick intro history to the High Elves. And this is a lot of the stuff that we've covered in previous videos as to how they came into their current state of power. And I'm really glad that Creative Assembly did a really good justice here. This was a very kind of minimally invasive way to present the High Elf history without it being, okay, there's so many details, there's this, there's that, there's this. Because the way Anarion looked and the such, like they say, like, oh, he looked very similar to Tyrion. But this is a great way of kind of keeping the essence that Games Workshop has with their games, right? They have these large continents, these large places where you can fill in the gaps with things you don't know about. So this kind of leaves some to the imagination here with Anarion, which I really do enjoy. Also, he describes, I always thought of A-S-U-R as pronounced Asur and not Asur, or whatever he called him.
A swirling maelstrom that siphoned the excess magic, withering demonkind.
It's also really cool to see how they portray the Nexus. And we've seen this in a lot of stuff already, but I guess I've never really thought of it like...
The world purged of chaos. The elves took it upon themselves to become guardians and stewards.
I never really thought of it as, hey, this is how the vortex really looks. But probably the most important portion of this video is coming up right here, so I'm going to shut up again. And we'll talk about that and raise the volume a bit.
The twin-tailed comet is oft seen as an omen. But this time, its wake brought great peril.
The dragon with two tails flies lower than before. Its trail disturbs the vortex.
I have felt a change in the winds of magic. Then write it, brother. Lead the mages of Safari. Bring all in the White Tower to bear if you must. Such lore is currently beyond us.
I suggest a scrying ritual in the pool of Isha.
A scrying ritual.
It may provide us with the answer.
Such a ritual requires fragments of fallen waystones. Far more than we have. Then we find more. Make ready your ritual, Lawmaster Talarian. You will have your fragments. I shall start the search in Lustria. Lustria? My brother will search here, in Ulthuan. Why do you care so much about the greater world? Why do you not? Stay here, brother. Protect Ulthuan. But I venture beyond our borders. And while you meddle in far-flung continents, I will ensure you have a home to return to.
So the interesting about that part about that is they're very a lot of ire between these two, right? There's a lot of contempt, and that's not very true to form with the way the High Elves are portrayed in the books, in the lore. Tyrion and Teclis, Tyrion and Teclis, the way they're portrayed. Tyrion and Teclis are actually pretty good chums. They're very close in the books. Tyrion never kind of looks down on Teclis's frailty, even though Teclis kind of begrudgingly looks at Tyrion's vitality and almost like a jealous light in a sort of way. But it's very interesting to see how they kind of chose this a lot of vitriol between these two here. And it's a little, to me personally, as someone who loves Tyrion Teclis, has read so much about him, it kind of like took me out of it. I was like, huh, interesting way to portray these two. I mean, it is true that Tyrion is very nationalistic. He's very about Ulthuan. Where is Ulthuan and the state of things in the world? And Teclis is about, hey, we need more allies to fight against chaos because we can't do it alone anymore. Our race has been too diminished to this point where we can't just grab the reins and don't worry, world, we'll get at this. And I love their voice acting, by the way, as a quick aside. Like you'll need more of these waystones. Like, it's so fucking epic. I love it. Like, let's jump back here real quick.
Then we find more.
Make more.
Ready your ritual, Lordmaster Talarian. You will have your fragments.
Like, I love, like, this picture alone right here. Like, the way Teclis looks, the way Tyrion looks, the way Lordmaster Talarian, I don't know who the hell that is, the way each of their voices sound, it's true to form to what I would expect, like, the elves of the Warhammer world to sound like, mainly the high elves. Like, I don't think of them as the kind of like the foppish, breathy voices of like a Legolas, like, oh, what am I? Help, I see, as a blood moon rises. I see them as more this, you know, then we find more. Make your ritual, Lordmaster Talarian. Like, very, very, very like official and very like to the point. Got that great little British accent twang to it at the very end. So this is the kind of haughty, arrogant elf that I would come to expect from a high elf, and not the kind of breathy Lord of the Rings elf that's like, the even star, even in darkness, it shall lead you to light. But it's very exciting to see this, and it's very interesting to me to see how they chose to have Tyrion and Teclis almost at ends with each other. Because I was saying in the lore, they're the best of friends. The times in which they do argue is very scant and far and few between. They do have disagreements on the way things should be run, or I'm sorry, the way things should be approached here and there. But for the most part, they do things separately, but with the same kind of mindset. Like, you know, this is all for the better of everything. It's not until really the end times that you get this grand contempt that grows between Tyrion and Teclis, as Teclis gets a little more enigmatic, and Tyrion starts to get a little more wrathful. You know, he kind of does whatever he can to save and protect Alarielle, who is his prime love interest, his wife. They father a kid together. They sire a child together. They procreate. And Teclis kind of becomes a little bit more worldly, trying to think of the grander scheme of things. So maybe they're trying to play off of that a little bit more. But I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a reach, because nothing else to this point in the Total War Warhammer franchise has been that point in the end times. It's always been kind of a little bit before in the true 8th edition, where these guys are spelunking through quests together or going on their own little forays here and there. But very exciting little bit here. We're obviously going to be seeing this when we go through the stream. Big thanks to who uploaded this, CLFGY. There's his name right there. Go ahead and sub to him or whatever. He's actually put up quite a few videos, so we can take a look here, of stuff that, you know, here's from the cinematics, here's from the ritual stuff. So this is the person that I saw do it, so I wanted to kind of give him a nod as a thank you, CLGY. But another thing I want to go over here is the new FLC kind of calendar they showed, you know, right? So we've got this new Mortal Empires campaign. That's what we know as to be the new grand campaign that we're going to see. They've called it the Mortal Empires, hinting at quite a bit there, right? So hinting at the demons, hinting at the undead. So we're not really sure what that ultimately means. There's the new legendary lord right here, and this could be any number of people. I mean, this could be the legendary lord that is pretty much Clan Moors. Or Clan Molder, I mean. I wouldn't really see him as Scryer. I think that Ikit Claw would come with an Ikit Claw DLC in conjunction with the Jezzails. I'm not necessarily sure that it's going to be Ikit Claw here. A lot of people do think that. I mean, I've been wrong plenty of times. I'm no expert. It's just kind of my speculation. That kind of looks more like Hell Pit than it does like actual Skavenblight, where Ikit Claw would be. So an experiment, we don't know exactly what that is. There's a big rumor right now that might be Luther Huss, or I'm sorry, Luther Huss is an entirely different thing. Luther Harkon, the vampire king of the Vampire Coast. which is a possibility, but an experiment I think might be something entirely different. I think if it was just a Legendary Lord, it would say new Legendary Lord. But Legendary Lord now for the High Elves. My vote is probably for Eltharion. And Eltharion is a High Elf Lord, and we'll do the High Elf Legendary Lords out here pretty soon, but he's a High Elf Legendary Lord that's mounted on a griffin. Some of the earlier versions, or earlier editions of Warhammer, he was actually captured and tortured and blinded by the Dark Elves. So he has a pretty torrid past, and he has a very, very bad relationship with the High Elves, and we'll go into that in that lore video, but he's one of the very few High Elves that actually have hatred High Elves, like the Shadow Warriors do. People think it might be Alariel or Alithanar, but I think if they released Alithanar, it would be alongside the Shadow Warriors, and I think if they released Alariel, it'd be alongside the Sisters of Averlorn as maybe like a dual DLC. Alariel, who is the Ever Queen, with the Sisters of Averlorn, who are her direct kind of like patrons. Protectors, and then Hellebrand, who is basically a witch elf special character, along with the Sisters of Slaughter, who would basically be right under her. I think maybe they'll do the Doomfire Warlocks as some sort of FLC, hopefully. But the new Legendary Lord, though, for Lizardman, I think would be Gorok, the Great White Lizard, because he's really, really cool lizard. A lot of really awesome lore behind him. Pretty cool because he never can be killed type thing. Like he's like the Hulk in Lizardman form. I don't have a ton to go off of that, other than the fact that he's kind of something that it wouldn't couple with anything else. Maybe if they wanted to, because I know they've got to release salamanders, they've got to release some Sotek stuff, so I could see Sotek being a Sotek kind of themed DLC being with Legendary Lord associated with that, and with some units associated with that. So I think he kind of fits out. Like we already get Krokgar, who is mainly a melee lord, but I think this guy would work really well hand in hand with that. But this kind of covers the video here today, guys. I just kind of wanted to go over the possible FLCs that we're going to see, and just kind of go over that intro movie. It kind of struck me as a little different, so I wanted to touch on it. I haven't even watched the Dark Elf one, so I'm not sure how that's going to go, and I don't have early access, so I have no idea how the game actually is. But this is something I really wanted to kind of touch on real quick. I haven't done one of these videos in some time, so I want to let you guys know I'm still watching stuff. Still want to give you guys some info, but hopefully here we'll have some good stuff coming out in the next week, as it is launch week next week. As a heads up, I will be doing a stream on the 28th, the entire day. I'll be streaming the High Elf campaign, the Dark Elf campaign, and ending the night with a head-to-head campaign with the Mighty Turn. So if you're excited for that, stick around for the 28th. I'll be streaming from 8 a.m. probably until like 10 p.m. with breaks here and there to maybe sometimes eat things. Who knows? Maybe just stare at myself in the mirror and go, what have I become? But thanks for watching here today, guys. Have a good weekend, and hopefully we'll get some more goodies released from Creative Assembly.